If you're playing a more emotional piece and you feel like it's missing some character or additional nuances, here's some things to try. So here's Chopin's Waltz in A flat major. The opening line may seem like it's relatively simple or basic, but actually, there are a lot of different colors and shapes you can bring out if you just listen and analyze the music closely. So right there, just in the first three bars, we have this triplet. And you can see it's kind of like a circle that you craft with the notes. You go from the triplet, and you kind of ascend through a circle, then come back down to the D flat. Then the next bar, we actually have one of the most crucial melodic lines in the entire piece. It shows up multiple times, in fact. We have the D flat to the C, where you have a half-step transition. And 2 bars later, we have this. And this happens so many times, you might be wondering, how do we bring this out in different ways so that the audience remains engrossed by the piece, they remain captivated by what you're playing? So the first few times, what you want to do is make sure that you land softly onto the C. You don't want to do this. You don't want to accent the C so it sounds like you're coming down harshly onto that different note. You want to transition gradually from the D flat to the C so it sounds like you're softly closing off a phrase, because this is a phrase from bar 1 to 3. That's one self-contained phrase. So you want to make sure you close it off carefully and softly onto that C. Same thing in the phrase I just played there. You want to come down carefully from the C to the B flat. Now, if you have many more of these like we do in this piece, you're going to want to change it up so the audience doesn't become bored of hearing the same thing over and over again. So later on the page, we have this. Now notice we just came off of a large, kind of like a more energetic run here. It's marked forte on the score. So instead of playing it softly or calmly like in the beginning, we can use a different tone to better emphasize and bring out the transition from the B natural to the C. So you can actually bring out the B and then accelerate using rubato to go to the C. So, and as always with rubato, when you take time, when you accelerate, you always have to remember to give back the time. So if we do this, kind of accelerate there from the B natural to the C, we must remember to give back that time by slowing down gradually with rubato in the next bar. So there, going into this kind of circle motion again, we slow down gradually, but not with a drastic or rhythmic, really rhythmic-related tempo change. It's more like a gradual slowdown. You can consider it kind of like a stretch. You're stretching the notes apart gradually, so there's slightly more time or distance between the notes than there normally would be. And here again we have. And you can use a softer tone there than we did the previous one, because we're coming off of a more energetic section than we were before. So here is that complete phrase again. Let me move to the chromatic scale, the next bar. And here there are many different scales like this throughout the piece. We have, and there's also at the end of the piece. So in places like these, you want to really make sure to get to the top of the scale so we know we're telling the audience where we want to go, what our direction is. So we want to play like this to get to the top, this G flat here. instead of just playing it linearly where we don't move anywhere, you want to do this. That's just going to tell your audience you're not really moving anywhere, you're just staying stagnant. You're staying the same dynamic as you were at the beginning, even though you're moving upwards in the scale. So instead, you can do this. To really make sure you get to the G flat, and because you're moving upwards to the scale, that's a really key dynamic change you really want to make sure you get into your playing. So those are some key crucial tips that you can keep in mind when you're playing a more emotional or expressive piece and you want to bring out more dynamic colors or different nuances.